Hello and welcome to this DDI CADcast. My name is Cody Armstrong and the topic is automating weldments. Thank you for joining us. This is part 2 of the 2-part series on automating weldments. And if you missed the first part, I definitely recommend taking a look at it. I showed a few examples where I can automate the creation of weldment parts, even build a form that allows the user to input values and automatically build a weldment based on those values. So part 1 was a focus on primarily automating the part creation, right? Automating the weldment part creation. And in part 2, I'd like to focus on automating drawing creation. Okay, so part 2 is going to be focused on how the weldment user can automate the process of creating drawings. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So we've gone through automating the part creation. What I'd like to take you through now is automating drawings, right? Creating a drawing of a SOLIDWORKS weldment. And so the process is very similar to what we've just done. I'm going to go ahead and call up an example. And it's very similar to what we just did. We're going to record a macro to start a drawing. So same steps as before. I'm going to hit record here, right? Go File, Make Drawing from Part, choose my template, hit OK. Then what I'm going to do is just drag out a couple of views, the same views I'd use to make this drawing if I were really making it, right? Insert Drawing View Model. We want a top view, so I'm going to drag out a top view. Okay, and then a projected right there. And then I place my views. Now before I stop recording, I also want to insert model items. Right? I want to bring the dimensions in. So I'm going to go model items, make sure it's set to entire model, then just hit OK. Now I've got the steps needed. I can stop the macro. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and stop this macro and save it. Okay, and we'll just call it Make Drawing. Okay, yes. And there is the first steps to my macro. And just like before, we're going to open it up, edit, add a couple of things here and there to make it fit what we really want to do. But let's go ahead and take a look at what it gave us. All right, so I go Make Drawing, I open it up. Again, it looks very similar to what we saw before. You'll see it's calling up the new document, pointing to my template, creating a new view, right? Create from model view here. So again, I can kind of stumble my way through what's going on just by reading the different names. You'll see there insert annotations, right? There's my insert model items command. So this is kind of what we've got with the out-of-the-box recording. So like I mentioned before, the best way to test this is to just run it again, right? So I'm going to go ahead and close that one. We'll go ahead and run, right? We'll call up and run through this program again. Say run into the main. Yes, we want run main. And then again, it creates a drawing, adds the 2 views, and then adds my model items. So that's kind of the process for recording the creation of a drawing, inserting views, and then inserting model items into those views. Okay, all captured using the macro recorder. All right, so let's take this one step further. The next thing I want to do in my automation, my macro to automatically make a drawing, is I want to insert a cut list. And of course I could go through and record, but another nice thing about the API help is it gives you lots of examples. Like I mentioned before, you can go through and find examples of this. So if I just do a search for cut list, one of the first examples you'll see is insert weldment cut list table example. So here's an example script for inserting a cut list in a drawing. Okay? It's pretty straightforward, right? It gives you an example. It calls out certain variables just like all other scripts, and then here's my actual code, right? So I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it into my program. Again, I always add a comment. Okay? Adding weldment cut list. And then what I'll do is just paste my code in. Now I still haven't defined the variables. Right, so I got to do that. We'll copy that variable in, those variables in, up here at the top. Just kind of clean things up just a bit. The other thing I want to point out is this constant here. You'll see that constant being defined at the very top, and it's pointed to a specific path, the path for the default cut list. I'm going to add that same constant in, but I'm going to alter the path, right? So you'll see constant, Weldment table temp. It's looking for a template for the cut list. Now, it's pointed to C, program file, SOLIDWORKS Corp, so on, for the default cut list. I want to edit that path. I want to change where it's pointed to for the cut list. Okay? And it's just a matter of altering the path. So I'm going to go ahead and browse. Let's go ahead and call up my cut list folder. Here it is. So I'm going to copy this path into my program. Okay? Also make sure to copy the name. So I'll go back here, make sure we capture the name, copy that, and paste that in there as well. But now this will point to my cut list instead of just the generic SOLIDWORKS one. Okay? So anytime you have a hard-coded value like that, you want to make sure that it's the right one. Okay? In this case, I'm pointing to my custom one. So now we define variables. We go down to the bottom here. We've defined our code, right? We've set those variables equal to something. We're telling it insert the cut list. So now what I like to do is try and run it. Let's go ahead and close this down, and we'll go ahead and run our program. Okay? Now, the first thing I get is this ambiguous error. What it means is you've defined SWApp in an ambiguous fashion, meaning it has multiple definitions. So if I hit OK to this, you'll see the line it highlights here, and I have SWApp defined twice. SWApp as object, SWApp as SOLIDWORKS. That is not necessary. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that line. I've already defined it here and down here, so it's not needed in this section. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it one more time. We'll run from the main, yes, and now it inserts my cut list. You'll see it there at the bottom. Okay, so there's my cut list. Now clearly it's not in the right spot, right? But it is in there, right? So now what I want to do is I want to position it in the right place. And again, it's all in those variables, those values after the command. So you'll see all these XY coordinates. You'll see this anchor top left. That's an example of the anchor type. Well, I don't want it to be top left. I want it to be bottom left. So now it's going to anchor on the bottom left corner. Now this first variable here says false. That's do you want to use an anchor or not? And I want to use an anchor, so I'm going to set this to true. Okay? But again, I'm just altering the variables of a Weldment table. Okay? Bottom left, I do want it to use an anchor. So we modified it a bit. We'll go ahead and reset. I'll save it, and we'll try it one more time. Okay? So now when I hit run, it creates a Weldment cut list and anchors it to the bottom left corner. Perfect. Okay? So now we've added a Weldment cut list using the API. So the last thing I want to do to complete this script is add balloons, right? I want to auto balloon each beam and then obviously tie it to the Weldment cut list. Now another good example in the API help is how to add auto balloons to drawings. Okay? There's an example in the help file on how to do it. Again, what I'm doing is a lot of copying and pasting of the existing code. I first need to define my variables. Notice I didn't grab all of them. I'm already defining some of these in my current program. I don't need to do it again. Otherwise, I'll get another error like we got before where I have ambiguous variables, right? I also define that bool status so I can delete that line, right? And SWApp is deleted or entered it already, so I don't need to worry about that. And so now what I can do is just copy and paste this code into my program. Right? So I'll go down to the bottom here. I want to do this after the cut list is inserted, so I'm going to go below that. Okay. Again, I'm going to add a comment. Say add balloons, adding balloons. Now, this is specific to one drawing view, right? The way I add balloons is per drawing view, so I have to say to drawing view 1. That way the person knows it's not all balloons, but just drawing view 1. Okay. Then I paste the code, and then I'm going to come in here, and you'll see it says drawing view 1. Highlighted there. So this again is specific to one drawing view. Okay. So now I've defined my variables. I've added my code. Okay. What I'd like to do is go ahead and try it. And we'll see if we have any errors. Right. So I'll go ahead and close this down. And we'll run this. And what you'll see is I get another runtime error. And if I hit debug, it highlights the line that causes the error. And you'll see here it says magnetic line equals true, right? I don't have a magnetic line. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this whole line here. I don't need that particular parameter, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that parameter from the code. Okay? We'll reset, and we can try it one more time. So let's go ahead and go back. We'll run this again. And now you'll see balloons added to drawing view 1. Okay? Balloon 1, balloon 2 there. Now you'll notice the size of the balloon. All the parameters for the balloon are actually in the setup for it. So you'll see here all the parameters for the balloon. Right? Any setting you'd want to set for a balloon, really the same settings you'd get when you manually insert a balloon, are here, including this 5 characters. I'm going to change that to 1 character. I don't need that much space around the balloon, or around the text rather. Any other values I wanted to set, I could. But that's pretty much it for this particular example. Now I want to do this for both drawing views. Notice drawing view 2 has nothing. Okay? I want to insert balloons into that drawing view as well. So what I'm going to do is copy and paste all this code and create another instance for drawing view 2. Okay? Actually, you know what? Let's take everything, including the comment. We'll copy that and paste it down below. And I'm going to change this to drawing view 2. Any place where there's a reference to drawing view 1, I'm going to change it to drawing view 2. Okay, so right here and right here. You'll see 2 references to drawing view 1. I'm going to change them to 2. Okay, and that should be it. Now I have a section for drawing view 1, and I have a section for drawing view 2 that will automatically insert balloons. So let's go ahead and reset it, and we'll try it again. Okay, go ahead and hit run. Okay, and if I look at it now, you'll see balloons here. Notice the size is correct. And you see a balloon in view 2 as well. Okay. So I've automated the drawing creation process, the view inserting process, the inserting of dimensions, inserting of balloons, and the inserting of a cut list. Okay, all using macros and API. All right, so one of the last things I want to point out about this script, if we go ahead and call it up here, is the reference it has to an individual part. So if I go through, it creates the views, but then it creates a model view. And what you'll notice about this model view is it's pointed to a specific path, right? C Armstrong desktop and a specific part. This will not work if I want to use this for all Weldment parts, because right now it's looking for a specific part called example. So what I need to do is change this hard-coded path, so to speak, to a variable so that it knows to use this script with the active document. So I'm going to create a new variable. We'll call it swModel, right? So set swModel equal to, I'm going to set it to equal to the active doc, right? swapp.activedoc. And so now swModel is equal to the active SolidWorks document. So now what I can do is come back in here and say, instead of the hard-coded path, say swModel.getPathName. And what that allows me to do is look at the file path name of the active document in SolidWorks. It's no longer looking for a specific part and a specific folder. It's looking at whatever document's active in SolidWorks and then getting that path name, right? So make sure it still works. I like to test it, so let's close this. And we'll run it one last time. And you'll see it still, yeah, good, still works. Okay, so you want to make sure to change that path to a relevant variable instead of leaving it as a hard-coded path, because if I were to try and open this with a file with a different name, it would just error out. Okay, so that's my section on automating the drawing creation process and on automating weldments in general. Please feel free to visit us at www.ddicad.com.